Hey. Time for the out of this world story from our space. How do I move on? My current partner cheated and doesn't love me anymore. Firstly, I am a 27 male with a 22 female. I have 2 children, one with my current partner and one with the previous partner. So I already feel like I ruined my life and messed up beyond repair. My current baby mom cheated so many times and in so many ways that when I found out, it ruined my mental and physical health. She doesn't respect me, love, or appreciates anything I do for her. She only uses me for the security I provide. Yet, despite knowing all of this, I can't leave. The idea alone makes me sick, but I know I should. She says I'm not a real man and I act like a woman when I try to talk about the pain and hurt I'm feeling. The looks of disgust alone are draining from her. I turned my back on my family for her, left my own place to live with her. I know I can't go back. If I should leave, I would have to pay rent somewhere, but I'm too lazy and depressed to try leaving. So I stay, even though it's killing me slowly. I've broken down emotionally and talk about it with her family that we live near, as she hates me for it. All the advice I'm getting is to suck it up and move on, but I can't. I really need help and advice because I can't on my own. I am too weak and I love her too much. What should I do? Where should I start? Let's get some comments before we move on to the update. Richhand999 starts us off. She needs to see a man walking away with the security she leaned on. Let her face the consequences of her disrespectful actions and move on to better pastures. Churcher78 has a thought. The amount of abuse you are experiencing is clearly extremely traumatizing. I suggest you start by making small steps like reaching out to family and friends that you've cut off, so you start to have an emotional outlet to help you plan an escape. You've made it feel so helpless because she's done an excellent job of isolating you. Abusers do this. They attempt to isolate and control you. Then they wear down your spirit until you feel like this is the best relationship you deserve. If you can read one book right now, I'd read No More Mr. Nice Guy. It might help you find a voice, so you can start to make small steps to escape this environment. Your child needs a healthier and happier environment than this one. Even if you only have a small amount of custody, it would be a happier child with you since your soon-to-be ex clearly has BPD or bipolar. The next thought comes from such cardiologist 669. I'm so sorry you're in so much pain. Take a breath. I know you're losing sleep over this. Hell, I am as well. But even if you do leave, you need to consult a lawyer to address the custody. I don't have children, fortunately and unfortunately, but you don't have to have her take custody, or at least not full custody. It sucks that spouses who are selfish and disrespectful to their partner and children deserve to raise the child. I know a person can be a good partner without being a crappy parent, but I have extreme difficulty believing a person can be honest, present, and responsible when that selfish excuse of a parent is out and about spreading her legs or slamming his genitalia into someone else effortlessly, as if they didn't have a partner or family back at home. I don't know how to separate the two. You can't disrespect your spouse without disrespecting the children. The whole family dynamic changes for both the spouse and the children because you can't hurt one without hurting the other. The only difference is the child is not consciously aware of it. Secondly, her family doesn't seem empathetic. Is there anything helpful from those conversations with them? Sometimes they genuinely don't care about any of it and use your pain as an icebreaker for their family gatherings. Before you go crazy and lose more sleep, listen to calming music and think logically. If you move out and the custody situation is addressed, could you go back home right now? Or would it be difficult because your family is far away from your current location? I imagine sharing custody may be limited to summers and holidays. Even if you wanted to reconcile, do you want to know you were just a safety net partner? What if she gets pregnant by whoever else? Because that could happen, and she might even be pregnant now. I don't think you can truly respect the relationship knowing she was capable of that betrayal and also disregard your feelings. If a spouse who doesn't love, appreciate, and allow you to be vulnerable, then what makes the situation any different to a child? But hopefully your child looks just like you, or just go get a paternity test. Without feelings, you guys wouldn't even be together. Feelings are why you get into a relationship. Or am I missing something? I don't think you need to be around someone who talks to you like that. It's not likely a recoverable situation even if there wasn't an affair because in general, she disregards your feelings and you don't want to be in a relationship where you try to convince her, choose me, because being in an unreciprocated relationship is you already being single without the official title. Do what gives you peace of mind and imagine where you want to be 1 or 2 or 5 years from now. The OP responds, this has given me so much insight. There are signs that she is still cheating and messing around, with even help from her mother and friend. I'm going to leave because this is breaking me, but a big part of me wants this to work, but clearly it won't. On to the update. I'll keep it short this time. I've reconnected with family and friends, staying in my brother's place for now. Long story short, my ex is now accusing me of not loving our child, demanding money, threatening me, and telling me not to return to the home where the remainder of my things are. It's all about money now. Every text, every call is about money for the baby. Even though I've left money and bought several things for the baby, I've blocked her on almost everything and left one way in case something is wrong with my child, but she uses it as a means to try and start arguments. Granted, I don't engage no matter how hurtful the things she says. I'm too emotional and she knows this and wants to use it against me. Well, no more. Our first reactions from rage, sadness, all in one. Have you heard of a co-parenting app? All communication can be used in court and allows for scheduling, etc. Then you can block all other avenues of communication. The OP responds, I haven't, but I'll give it a try. She and her mother is hell-bent on making me the bad guy for leaving. Her next thought from internal reveal. First, go see a lawyer and follow the legal advice to the letter regarding child support. Since you aren't married, no alimony, but confirm. Use recommended co-parenting app recognized by your local jurisdictions. Gray rock her as much as possible and only discuss child's well-being in visitation to the app. Anything else she has to say needs to go through your attorney. If you must have interactions with the ex, make sure to let her know you are or not recording it all. That should keep her in check, and if she tries or does escalate things, you'll have proof to clear your side of things. Let everyone know why you left her, and be very frank and honest but respectful. Otherwise, she will paint you out to be the crazy, abusive, controlling partner. You have to own the narrative, not her or her mother. Follow the gray rock and 180 as much as possible, and keep moving forward. Gorilla de Gorillo chimes in. Well done. Recognize the manipulation for what it is, and keep being strong. Don't engage, and pay for nothing beyond what's necessary for the child. If she needs diapers, don't give her money. Order from Amazon and have them delivered. Whenever possible, buy the items that are needed, but don't give her cash. The OP replies, I've realized the situation I was in, and now I don't give her money anymore. I just buy for my child and keep it pushing. One more comment from Dead Patriot 57. I've been divorced from my ex for 15 years and she still tries bullcrap like this on occasion with me, even though she knows it never works and hasn't for 16 years. My daughter is 17 and has seen through it as well since she was 8. My daughter has zero respect for her mother and probably never will have any due to my ex's actions throughout her life. You have to become indifferent when dealing with your soon-to-be ex. No emotions for her at all. She will try to provoke and manipulate through emotions. Don't give her any openings to attack you. Cool, calm, collected, reason, and logic are narcissist kryptonite. Also, I definitely recommend an STD test and a paternity test. I caught my ex cheating because she caught an STD. Literally tried claiming I was cheating and gave it to her, even though we hadn't had sex in months. I laughed in her face, went to the clinic, got tested, and brought back the initial results, showing I was clean. It took her 5 minutes of looking at the floor in silence before she could look me in the eyes and admit to sleeping around. Even though my daughter looks like me a lot, I went and had a paternity test. Thankfully, she was mine. Cheaters tend to gravitate to people with similar characteristics and have a type. It might be difficult now, but you shouldn't have to pay for her mistakes for the rest of your life if the kid ends up not being yours. Also, if the kid ends up not being yours, you'll be able to completely break away from your soon-to-be ex. On to the next story. When my wife cheated, I was absolutely devastated, but I survived. Here's how. I hope with all my heart this helps someone who's hurting and or trying to decide how to get through the pain of infidelity. First, for me this broke into two things I needed to accept and address. Those two things were my insecurity and my perception of who she was versus who she really was. My insecurity. I felt like if I had been better somehow, she wouldn't have been tempted to cheat on me. It took me a long time to realize there was nothing wrong or substandard about me. I am who I am, warts and all. And if she doesn't like who I was, cheating on me would not solve the problems between us. But while I was in the thick of it, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was somehow less than worthwhile. Since then, I've done a ton of work, with professional help, on my self-esteem. I've discovered why I felt less than I have, also discovered why I had a shaky sense of who and what I was or am. In a sort of adjacent issue, I discovered that I have absolutely no control over the other people. My insecurities led me to believe that if I could possess someone to marriage, that I owned them, that I had a right to expect them to behave in certain ways. I have learned that part of the problem was that I believed her promises to me, our marriage vows, were somehow binding. They weren't. She was always free to do whatever she pleased. Don't get me wrong. If she couldn't commit to those promises, she probably shouldn't have made them. But people change. She may have truly meant it when she said the promises she made, but later changed her mind. It would have been nice if she would have said so. But even saying so, or not, is a choice she gets to make without any input from me because I don't own her. My perception of who she was versus who she really was. I believed I knew her. I believed that knowing who she was enabled me to predict how she would act, and then I could rely on my perception of who she was to keep me safe from emotional upset. I was wrong, mainly about who she was. I thought she was someone who would never cheat on me, someone who couldn't cheat on me. As far as I knew, she had never cheated on anyone else with whom she had been in a relationship. But her cheating showed me she was someone who could cheat on me. After the cheating, I was confronted with the fact that the person I was with looked and sounded exactly like the person I thought I had known. She had all the same mannerisms. She styled her hair the same. She wore the same clothes. She liked the same foods. She watched the same TV shows. In every way, she was the same person I thought I had known, except that she wasn't. The person I was with after she cheated on me was a person who was interested sexually in others. She was a person who couldn't keep her marriage vows. She was a person who could lie to me. She was a person who didn't mind inflicting the pain of infidelity on me. For me, that made her a completely different person. But she looked, sounded, acted, smelled just like the person I was in love with. That's what made it so hard, so confusing, so hard to come to grips with and get over. It took me a long time to realize I had just been wrong about her, which really fed back into my insecurities. If I couldn't tell the difference between someone who loved me and someone who didn't mind hurting me, where did that leave me? How could I ever trust my own judgment again? Truth be told, I am still, at some level, in love with that person. I just accept that I have never actually met that person yet. The person who looked like the person I was in love with wasn't actually the person I had fallen in love with. In the end, I decided I didn't want to be with the person she actually was. That's not the way it would have to be for everyone. That's just the decision I made at the time. I could see that I was beginning to mistreat her because of my pain and anger. I didn't want to be the person I was becoming. I could see, dimly at the time, that I wasn't going to be able to get over what she did unless I moved on without her. Under a different set of circumstances, I believe it might be possible for someone to accept the things that were ultimately true and find a way to fall in love with the person based on who they actually are, rather than who they were perceived to be. I have a friend who was able to make this his reality after his wife was unfaithful, so I know it's possible. To tie all these things together, here's where I am now. I have learned to trust my judgment again, but not in the same way. When I enter into a relationship with someone now, I do it with my eyes open. I don't believe that the relationship will give me ownership rights over them. I recognize my own responsibility in loving and respecting myself, and not expecting that to be provided by someone else. I recognize they are not giving up their agency as a human being as we enter into a relationship. I recognize that all relationships end, either in breakup or the death of one of the parties. I recognize that in almost every case, one person will be done with a relationship before the other, and that's okay. It sucks if I happen to be the person who's not ready for the end, but if I truly love someone, then I should want what's best for them, through their eyes. If I can't do that, then I don't love them. I want to possess them. I want them as my property. That's not love. I recognize that two people can love each other, but their togetherness can be toxic. I now have several exes who I am great friends with, but over our time together as lovers, we discovered that it wasn't good or constructive for either of us to be together. I hated what happened in the infidelity and subsequent divorce. It hurt so much. Bad in a way that can never be described to a person who's never been through it. But at the same time, I am so grateful for it. That pain taught me things about myself, relationships, and love that I could never have learned in any other way. I've never remarried. I probably won't ever. But I now know what a good partner will look like and feel like when I meet her. I still make bad choices here and there of partners, but I now have the courage to end relationships that have no chance of flourishing or are destructive in some way. Our first reaction comes from Pisces 314. This hits hard. So you think they are versus who they are. For me, it was accepting I didn't even know who my spouse was. The OP replies, I'm so sorry for the pain you must have felt. The double whammy of finding out about the cheating and finding out there's someone different. How are you doing now? Are you okay? Internal King says, as weird as it sounds, mentally I felt as if the real her was imprisoned by some imposter and this new person took her place. I would never have imagined her cheating. I guess it was a way for my brain to try and come to terms with the unthinkable. It was very difficult for me to understand why this person changed, but I'm now realizing she never changed. It was the true her all along. One more comment before moving on from Gustafreda. Yeah, I relate to realizing the person you loved was a figment of your imagination. I realized that so many things I loved about my ex were assumptions. I thought he was a man of high moral standards, who would go through fire for me, who was happy to be with me and proud to have me. He turned out to be none of those things, but just told me he was those things. The sad person he was never got any attention of any other women, and that is why he was faithful and loved me. It took one okay-looking girl to come after him, and he jumped ship. It hurt more than I can ever explain, but the lessons are learned. On to the next story. What do you do if your wife commits financial infidelity? About a month ago, I discovered my wife's irregularity in her spending habits and her secret account. She apparently has had multiple meals, drinks with people in the course of a year. She never told me about this or ever brought it to my attention. In fact, it was an accident I even discovered this, as she left her 2021's account statements backed up in Dropbox and left Dropbox open. For the entire year, her average secret monthly dining, drinking, coffee expenditures exceeded what is budgeted for the two of us as a couple per month. I confronted her about this. Her explanation was simple. It was with her coworkers, part of team-building expense. She felt she was entitled to her freedom and discretion as she earned it. She said she was treating or repaying her coworkers for favors received. Except, she would often disappear into the bathroom for hours with her phone. Calls of day, night, she rejects and did not answer in my presence. After a week, I was not satisfied with her answer. I began to re-question her. It turns out this is a pattern that dates way back even before we got married over 27 years ago. In fact, many meals were with men alone. She said she felt if she told me, I would dissuade her since I didn't understand her work situation. It was generally for purpose of work and not pleasure. So I asked her what was the context of the last 2 meals she had. In what regards were they relating to work? She gave me some asinine answer, like she wanted intel on another coworker. I asked her, would over coffee not be sufficient? You need to go out for a meal since the result was a one-line sentence? Again, her gaslighting made me sound like a crazed, jealous husband. 10 years ago, when we were working together, I personally witnessed her coddling a client while putting me down in front of him. I saw her raw emotions and feelings of offering. So much so that the client openly pursued her. I actually terminated contract for us to save the marriage. Well, in the midst of it, I thought she was just playing the good cop. Actually, she was heavily flirting with him. I never once suspected her, until a month ago. My question to her was, if it was no big deal as she claims, then why keep it a secret? And why for so many years? Again, she said she felt it is her right to her freedom as she made this money. What was surprising was her response. She's willing to split or divorce, claiming because I'm thinking the worst of her and this is what I want. If it was a mere overture of gluttony, why would one take the gravest option? Wouldn't she try to hold on to the marriage? I do not believe her, and I have not found closure. She has shown no shame, remorse, or any signs of guilt. In fact, she firmly believes it is her right to her discretion and secrecy, despite paying lip service. I am so triggered and fed up with her BS, now I cannot think straight. Please advise. Ask for advice and you're going to get it. Zach Taylor 05 chimes in burst. It sounds like she is really cheating on you. The next comment comes from Mysterious Maximum 488. She's not only committing financial infidelity, she's lying and most likely cheating on you as well, probably for your entire marriage. Stay if you want. Sometimes I am lost chimes in. If she is that easy to go to separate divorce, then she is not happy with your questioning, and therefore she is certainly hiding other indiscretions. And she goes into the bathroom to answer calls. You said you had been with her for 27 years. I am sad to think what you would find out if she were to divulge everything to you. I don't think it would be good. Take control. File. Our last bit of advice comes from Mr. Big Bull 01. IOP. This is indeed a very strange reasoning of her. Wouldn't it be much more logical to discuss this with you than she wants some private spending money or a budget from joint accounts to spend like she sees fit? Then she could also mention you have an equal amount to spend as you see fit. If it really is for what she says it is, then there is no need for any secrets. And then there is the part she so easily talks about divorce. For me, this would be the final nail. If she throws it away that easily, then she can have it. Clearly, she doesn't love you enough to do everything to stay married, not even discussing new terms about her spending behavior. If you're thinking about divorce, then do it on your terms, meaning you take the driver's seat. This means seeing a lawyer and drop the papers without her knowing. Then have her served when she has one of those dinners, or just at work. This will trigger her almost primal reaction. That could be totally in tears and not wanting divorce. She could be totally angry for serving her at work. Then you know she is okay with divorce. Or just ice cold agreeing to the divorce without any emotion. With the last two, you know she doesn't care for you. She doesn't love you. With the first one, you will know she was bluffing by saying she would divorce. You can stop the divorce process at any time if you like, if needed. Take care, Mr. Big Bull.